Welcome to another episode of CEO Class, where we host some of the greatest leaders around the world to chat about their personal goals, growth, and hopefully we can help you answer some of your questions regarding how they actually want to do it or how can I make it work types of questions. We're live on Spotify, Google Podcasts, as well as on YouTube. So if you like what you see, what you hear right now, please give us a like and a sub on the platform. We'll appreciate it a lot. I'm your guest host for today. My name is Jeff. I'm currently the COO of Young Partner School. Joining me today is an artist, a founder, an entrepreneur, a CEO of Oymyhome, Wong. So, Ray, how
Hi,
are you
nice to
doing?
meet you. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
So I'm
great,
Grace.
great.
I'm the co-founder of Ohmyhome, and Ohmyhome is based in Singapore. And so, in case there are audiences in Hong Kong, so what does Ohmyhome do? Well, actually, everything about property. So imagine if today you want to sell your property. There's only two ways to go about it. You do it yourself, or you get an agent. So if you want to do it yourself, we have our website, our Android and our iOS app for you. It's free of charge. You can post your property, and then buyers can just go onto our platform to search. Otherwise, we also have our in-house agent services. We have in-house mortgage. We work with partner legal firms and renovation. So the entire flow of getting from one house to the other house is here with us at my home.
That's a great service, and I'm definitely we're gonna go into more details of the story of your Oh My Home. But so some of us know you from artist background, but can you give us a little bit of your mindset as an entrepreneur out of all these different topics and passions that we all have, from singing to some of us playing, reading books and all these different things, right? Why did you would say you picked property out of all these different industries and to start your business in?
Well, that's a lot of questions. I'll start with passion. I think everything I do is always driven by passion. So when I first went to Hong Kong from Singapore, it's all about pursuing a dream that I want to be a singer in Hong Kong. And because it was 20 years ago, and back then, Hong Kong artists, they were the biggest stars, everywhere that we know. People weren't looking at like Koreans or any other countries. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I thought I want to be a singer, and that's where I went without even knowing that I can't speak Cantonese. So it's all about the dreams, right? When you're young, you don't even know what you don't know, and you just go with the flow. And yeah, so it was passion, and I'm glad that went pretty well for me. But after a while, I felt that I wasn't actually gaining or learning as much as I would hope to. And that is why I thought I have this 10-10-10 rule where when I
Okay.
make a decision, I'll go by this 10-10-10 rule. It's from a book that I read. And it's like, if this decision is going to impact you, you have to think about how is that impact in the next 10 hours, and then 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, and 10 years. And so, of
Okay.
course, I loved singing and acting because the industry is fun. You get to hang out with cool and beautiful people. But when I think about myself, 10 years down the road, which is like fast forward is now, would I still want to be acting and singing? And the decision back then was very clear. It isn't something that I felt was sustainable. And so I had to pivot. So the first thing I did was I had this, my auntie. So she's a very knowledgeable lady. And then she said, if you're thinking about what to do next, the next thing you should do is to actually become a stockbroker, go into
Okay.
equities, because when you're in equities, you actually learn about every single sector. You learn about the market. You learn about what's happening in Hong Kong and China. And if you're covering US as well, you know about every single sector. And there you will be able to pick which sector you are more interested in. And so I went into Maybank Kim Eng. So Kim Eng is a Singapore-based brokerage, and worked there for 2 years. I was a licensed broker, and yeah, so I went through the entire like the banking lifestyle where you have to wake up at like 5 a.m., get to work at 6:30, and you read all your research and get into the morning meeting at 7:30. Yeah, so I did there for a while, and that was very enriching. And I thought that was actually life changing for me because I was exposed to a whole new world that I never knew. But the market wasn't doing very well back then as well. That was like 10 years ago. What a stockbroker does is like you have to have a good clientele, you have a client base, and then you sell them stocks, you sell them your ideas. And whether they make or lose money, you make a commission out of it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really like I didn't really like this business model or the model of making money that way because I felt that I definitely have no control over the market. Nobody has control over the market. So whatever I'm selling is really based on like a guesstimation.
Right.
Um, and stocks made me realize how important property is because stocks can actually go down and depreciate in value 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% overnight. And in Hong Kong, for the market to move 10 to 20% is kind of normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided this is not something I can do long term. And that was when I turned 30, and I was having this discussion with my dad, and I wanted to move from Kineng to another bigger farm and to cover the world market. And my dad was asking me, so what's your working hours? I say, oh, my working hours is going to be like 7 a.m. You know, as usual, the market opens at 9:30. And because I'm a girl, I get to go home at 12 a.m. It's like, what? Yeah, it's because the guys have to cover like the US and Europe market. They go home about 3, 4 a.m. But
Right.
they say, like, but you're a girl, you can go home at 12 a.m. because that's safer for you. I said, okay. And I was like so ready, you know, I went to get my licensing for FX. And my dad says like, you know, you're not going to get a life, right? And where are you going to spend the rest of your life? You know, your mom and me were in Hong Kong, we're in Singapore. Would
Mm-hmm.
you want to come back to Singapore? And that's when I thought, oh yeah, I'm not getting any younger. So I made the decision to come back to Singapore. And when I'm back here, my sister Rhonda, she's already in the property field. That
Mm-hmm.
is because my dad has always been a very avid investor in property. So he told Rhonda, you know, you should go and get a license to be a property agent. So her background was in trading as well. She was trading in Chicago. And she thought that if she were to get a license as a property agent, she's able to get insider information, research material, just like a trader does.
Right.
But it's not that the property market isn't what we thought it would be. It is it's very, uh, it is not seamless at all. There's a lot of gaps in the market. As in,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, there's this gap between like getting your right property and then there's the middleman in between, which is like the agents, lawyers, where you don't actually get the right information. And at many times after we've been in this industry, we realize that a lot of people get into a lot of trouble because they get false information, they miscalculate. Because think about it, almost for every single family, no matter how big or small your house is, it is one of the biggest investment.
Yep.
Yeah, invest in your property, in a home that you live in. And if it goes wrong, it actually affects your entire household
Yes.
because like, you're going to pay mortgage for the next 20 years, right? And that's how we started into our property journey, that we want to create a company that people can trust, a company where you can get very transparent information, where anyone, regardless of how rich or poor you are, you can have the same service or even, you know, not pay for anything and just transact your property on Oymyhome. Yeah,
Wow.
so
Wow.
that's
So
my short.
that's a quite a quite a juicy story right there. But I want to jump back to initially when you first talk about how you make your different decisions, right? You mentioned a book that you read that gives you the 10 10 10 rules. So can you elaborate more about on that? Like how much do you use it on a day-to-day basis, or how has that helped you, or if that hurt you any before?
I use it pretty often, especially when like I have a friend, you know, any friends will come to me to say that, oh, you know, I'm really sad, I'm heartbroken, I broke up with my girlfriend or boyfriend. And then I'll tell them the 10 10 10 rule. I think, you know, in 10 days, you'll feel really bad, you know, you kind of like feel like you want to kill yourself because you love the guy so much.
Right.
And then in 10 months, most likely, you're kind of like over it. But you gotta think about the 10 years. Do you really want to marry this guy? Is he really the right husband material? Is he really the right father material. And actually, when I have this conversation with a lot of people say, yeah, actually it's not really husband material, but I just really I love him so much. Yeah, but actually, we have to be really sensible when it comes to a lot of decisions. And it boils down to making decisions at the company as well.
Hmm.
When we're making very hard decisions, is this like just cool for a while, or is this really good for the longevity and the sustainability of the company? Yeah, so this is something I use pretty often.
Right, right. Yeah. And I think definitely, being within the startup scene or entrepreneurs, we always have to make decisions on the fly, right? Like everything, there's a million things coming your
Yeah.
way, and you have to make a decision that affects literally every single one of your company. Do you remember on top of your head like what book is that from, so our audience can sort of go dig that out?
I can try to Google it right now.
But no worries. But I think reading is one of those like habits that we all picked up. I think especially for myself, I picked up reading. I was never a reader when I was doing schools, when I was studying. And then once I jumped into the startup scene, I started reading a lot. Like every single month, I picked up a new book, and it means a lot, for founders, especially we have to grow our own business in this way and just have to learn constantly. Um, and so going back at the earlier days when you start your property career, how was the market? Do you think that it was particularly easy or good for you to start, or was it a tough time?
It was tough. The market in Singapore hasn't been really good for a while. And when we first started Oh My Home, that was we're 4 years old this year. So Singapore just introduced a lot of the cooling measures, and the transaction scene wasn't that good. And that is why we introduced like a whole brand new model. So back
Hmm.
then, when you wanted to sell your property, you have to go through an agent. Otherwise, you'll have to spend $80 Sing dollars, which is $400 Hong Kong dollars, to put an ad in a newspaper, which lasts for a day. Otherwise, it's really through an agent, or they can do like they'll paste it in their bulletin board right under their housing block.
Hmm.
So if you're coming to Singapore and you want to like, I want to rent a room, right? Because you're a young guy, and then you have to like go to the box and then look at a bulletin board and like look at a little paper that says, oh, room for rent, $500. So that was
Wow.
it was back then. But once we started Oh My Home, the entire scene changed. So you'll see like the other platforms, allowing people to DIY as well. Because we
Hmm.
feel like this is the way to go. It is not possible for every single person to afford 2% or 1% agency fees. So in Singapore, if you're selling your property, you pay 2%. And if you're a buyer, you pay 1% for the mass market housing. But with Oh My Home, we created all this like step-by-step guide. So to buy your property in Singapore for the government housing, it's actually really complicated. There are like more than 10 steps. You have
Hmm.
to file certain things with the government, and you have to do it within like 48 hours. So it's like a very tight time period. And if you do it wrongly, you gotta like kind of start it all over again. So it's not fun at all. The entire
Hmm.
process is between 1 to 3 months. And that's where Oh My Home came in. We are actually the first one to create the entire journey. After this, you do this step by step. So if you're on our app and you say that, okay, I'm a buyer, I'm an HDB buyer, the entire step by step guide is right there for you. Yeah, so just follow every single step and you'll be very well taken care of. And at any point that they're unsure, and we're there, the customer service there, and if they need any help with documentation or you need a lawyer, because every single person who transacts, you need a lawyer to do the transaction, regardless of whether you have an agent or not. So
Hmm.
we'll have all these partner law firms that we work with, because actually we understand it's really difficult. Imagine like today you're gonna buy your property, so you'll have to like Google for a lawyer. Most people don't have their own lawyer, right?
Right. Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
when you Google for a lawyer, you don't really know what to say when you call the law firm, like, hi, I want to do this and that. It's a little cumbersome. So with Oh My Home, every price is stated there. You know what you're paying for, and you know that you're being served by very reliable people. because they've been doing transactions with Oymyhome for like done like thousands of transactions. So these are lawyers definitely that you can count on. Yeah, so
Wow.
just a seamless one-stop shop for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what we're
So
doing.
basically, you created.
And we actually,
Sorry.
sorry, I was gonna say that we actually also reverse the way people search for property. So
Oh.
normally you go search for a property, you like go to a search bar, you enter, and then you see all the properties, right? But on Ohmyhome, apart from doing that, you can actually post a shout out. So a shout out is like, I'm a buyer, I'm from Hong Kong, I'm looking for like a two-bedroom, and this is my budget. I want to live
Hmm.
near the MRT or MTR station. And
Right.
then you'll have the owner suggest your properties to you.
Oh wow. So basically,
Yeah,
you
so it's
created this one-stop platform for either both buy side and sell side to actually complete all the transactions, which I think right now in this 2020 day and age, like we all get very used to, oh, this is another C2C platform. But I think back in earlier in the days, like this was something very groundbreaking for people to do. Is oh, there's a new C2C platform for people to learn from this, and and during the time that you're creating this, I'm sure you ran into a lot of ups and downs and problems, especially when you have to deal with working around the government agencies, working around with legal and lawyers and all these stuff. What's one of the toughest or stories that you can tell, like the stuff that you went through personally or in terms of company, like what has been the toughest so far?
Wow. I think like if I think some of my teammates are tuning in right now. There are like so many tough moments. Um, I can't really name which one is the toughest. Every single stage is difficult. So let's talk about like the initial stage where we
Hmm.
are conceptualizing the product, and not knowing like, oh, should we actually house our tech team in-house or get an external party to outsource our platform, to fundraising,
Hmm.
getting our product out to the market, and then there's the managing of the team, and then prioritizing which one to do first. That's seriously like endless. And then now with this COVID crisis, right?
Hmm.
So we had to gather our team. The good thing that we have is that we have a very very good team. So we have this team that's been with us since day one. And when we're making like really tough decisions, it's not just down to like me and Rhonda, my co-founder, making these decisions. We'll actually gather our team and ask them, hey, we're in this situation, this COVID virus crisis, where housing transactions are down to historic low levels. What should we do? What other products should we create? What are the solutions that we can prioritize? And how long does it take to push this product out? Yeah, so every step is difficult. And then some people will also ask, oh, how is it like being a female founder? I think internally, as a female founder with my own team, we have no issues. But when it comes to, I think you would have read a lot of stats, right? Like female founders get less funding,
Hmm.
or yeah, female founders, yeah, they are less successful in having like unicorns, things like that. And
Right.
as much as we want to think that, hey, we're all humans, but it's quite true.
Hmm.
The reason is because, so Rhonda and I, in the first year that we started Ohmyhome, we actually got married and we got pregnant. So this year, Ohmyhome is 4 years old, and my daughter is 3 years old.
Wow.
So we're like pregnant and having like babies, and Ohmyhome is our first baby. And because like throughout this time, when you first start, you're doing everything hands on. You don't have a big team like we have today. So we're the ones like on ground doing marketing. I remember there was once that Rhonda was actually on ground doing work, and she slipped and fell when she
Oh.
was really pregnant, when she was like 7 months pregnant.
Oh my
Yeah, it was
God.
like raining and the floor slippery, and she slipped and fell, and we're like, oh my god, you should be more careful. But
Oh
there
man.
actually isn't anyone else to do her job if she's not doing it.
Oh
Um,
man.
so it's
That's
never been easy.
scary.
I think the only happy thing that we can actually feel satisfied about is building our own team, and
Mm-hmm.
when we have like good customer testimonials, when customers really sincerely think says that like, thank you so much. You actually helped my family through this very difficult period. Um, and in fact, we actually serve a lot of customers like that because moving from that one house to the other house, it's most of the time it's pretty stressful. Of course, there's this portion of people who are like upgrading because they make more money, but a lot of times we meet with broken families, divorce cases, um, people in financial difficulties. Yeah, so these are the people who we feel like, oh, we're really making a big difference. And the reason why, like, oh, my home started with the mass market housing instead of like start with like high end properties, is because we really want to make a difference and really extend this service out to the people who actually really need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's us. I don't know where
Yeah.
to begin now. What is difficult?
No,
Every
no.
single thing is
I think it's a very good story, especially when you mention, helping families with issues, right? Broken families, divorces. I think those of us here, some of us are lucky enough to have a great family living under a roof. But for those who are moving out, maybe for students or broken parents, this is something very important for them. But also want to draw back to earlier when you mentioned the part about being a female founders, right? Does the stereotype, from the outside world sort of fuel your fire? Do you ever see this as a challenge or competition where it drives you day to day? It's like, okay, I'm gonna make Oh My Home one of the best, not only in Southeast Asia but in the world. Does that fuel you?
I'm not actually filled by people who don't think I can make it. Um, my dad has always raised us like men, not really like girly girly. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been living out with my elder sister in Hong Kong since I was 19 years old. Rhonda as well, she's been living in America for quite a few years after JC, junior college.
Mm-hmm.
And since young, we've always been working for my dad. My dad made us work in his shop every single Sunday and every single holiday. So every December during Christmas, we're always there selling something
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted us to understand the value of money. So when you're asking for $50 from him, he'll make you understand that, hey, sell this soft drinks, okay? And then whatever you make, I'll give it to you. And then you
Oh
realize, oh
wow.
my God, actually every single soft drink you only make 50 cents. So to make
Whoa.
50, you have to sell 100. So he put all the drinks in the ice box, like the
Mm-hmm.
styrofoam box with all the ice, and then it's all inside because we're like a temporary store, right? We're not
Right.
like ones with like a fridge. So back then, 7-Eleven wasn't even open in Singapore Orchard Road at all.
Mm.
And that's how we were able to see the gap in the market where, hey, after 9 p.m., there's no drinks available. And it's really great because like everyone's doing their Christmas countdown and there we are selling drinks.
Right.
Yeah, so it's this styrofoam box. And every time someone wanted a drink, we'll have to like put our hand in there, find it, bring
Yeah.
it out. It's a wrong one. And then you bring it in again. Our hands are so painful. It's so numb and it's like it has rashes because it's so cold.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the training since young. I think like having our kids understand the difficulty in making money and the difficulty and what is hard work. So our parents have always demonstrated to us that working hard is very important. So it's the work ethics that we've built since young. So it's not really about people thinking if I can make it or if I can't make it. It's really about the work ethics. I think once you have the right work ethics, you know how you have to put in your best for every single thing you do. And I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what others say, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, work ethic is a very, very crucial, I think, attribute for a founder to have. And then also, the parenting that your father has done, right? We, I think especially for Hong Kong, some of the students, we don't really have that chance, right? Like what we see in TV shows and what you mentioned, right? So I was lucky. I sort of grew up in the States, and as a class, we used to go out and do fundraising for the class. And
Mm.
what we do is we sell lemonade stands. We go go to the local college and clean the Coliseum. And we were all working towards that one goal. So for you, it was maybe the $50 toy. And for us, it was, we're working for our whole graduation trip. So our whole graduation trip, we came from a small town in Washington, and we worked, basically 4 or 5 years upon the graduation trip. So we were able to take the whole class to California for free in the summer.
Wow.
So that was very, very rewarding, and that's when you learn. Okay, this is, if you put in the hard work, consistently, I think this is where the reward kicks in, and when you have it, it means so much more than just, if your dad just gave you $50, hey, here you go buy whatever you need. I think it means so much difference.
I know. I think like back then I wouldn't have thought through. I would think like, oh my God, I hate it. Like my friends are doing countdown and I'm here selling soft drinks. And nobody likes it. But then like, of course, looking back, in hindsight, of course, that was good training. And we're like that experience. So yeah, what you said is true. Working towards the goal is more important than like just thinking like, oh, you know what, my job is just about coming to work at 9. I finish my work at 6. If I can't finish, I finish it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
That it like kind of like feels kind of meaningless if you're working for that salary without like a goal in sight.
Yeah.
At least for me, that's what I think. I think it's regardless of whether you're rich or poor, because I was like that. Even when I first went to Hong Kong, we had to work very long hours. There were times when it's like 48 hours nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I was very young then. I was only like 20, 21. And you are not always paid a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like fast forward today, when I'm older, I'm more comfortable with my own lifestyle. I don't have to look at the price of like a bread. Back in Hong Kong, when I was there, I was like looking at two bread. Oh, which is a cheaper bread? Oh, this is the cheaper bread, and that's what I'll buy. I'll look at everything, which is the cheaper apple, which is the cheaper wonton min. I'll eat like the $10 wonton min, but I will not go into like the $15 wonton min.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but fast forward now, I don't have to compare the prices of fruits or wonton min, but the work ethic's the same. If there's something to be done, you just get it done.
Right. And it's good segue right here when you mentioned about your life in Hong Kong. So, when you're here, in Hong Kong, obviously you're an artist, living, you know, some might say, the glamorous life, as an artist in Hong Kong. And throughout this journey, the years you've been singers in movies and all that stuff, has any of these kind of experience translate into the skills or the technical stuff that you need being a founder right now?
Um, I think everything actually really do translate. There's always training in every single thing. One common thing is that nothing is easy. Whether you're trying to be a singer, an actress, or model, or now starting your own business, or back then I was working for a company, nothing is easy actually. If you want to be good in what you do, it's just endless hard work. What other things that help me? I guess I'm better at talking to people. um, and I think there's a lot of things that I learned from others as well. There's always things that I have to improve on. When I first came back to Singapore, I was very cold. I didn't really like to connect to people. I don't really like to talk to people. I only talk to my own family. I guess that's because I was an artist. Because when you were an artist, you always have a manager um, and your assistant next to you. And if someone wants to like talk to you, you like talk to the person in front of you. And then the person will like, hey, that person wants an autograph, then you like kind of like send an autograph and then you pass it back. I don't really people as well. And then that is something that my sister Rhonda, she's really good at. And my elder sister Roseanne as well. So Rhonda will be the one who's like, hey, it's okay, that's how people communicate. There was once like Rhonda has a friend who came over to our house, and then he came over and said, hey, Race, how's it going? And already I feel offended.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then I was like telling Rhonda, like, what friend is this? Like, why is he asking me how am I doing? It's like, it's none of his business. because I'm such a private person. So even so, after like being in Hong Kong and all that, I came back. It was still a huge gap to where I had to learn to be a founder, to communicate with my team, and to be able to really speak freely with my teammates today. Yeah, it was a huge gap. Now that
Oh
I think
yeah,
about it.
definitely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a huge, in terms of work-wise, in terms of duties, right? It's all very different from being an artist and being a founder right now. And was there, I think before we jump on this chat, you also mentioned, I think the lifestyle is very similar, right? The hours that you have to put in as an artist and as a founder, there's no, especially for us, in this startup world, there's no days off. Is that what you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. Actually, it is hard work, like long hours. It is like in every single line. Even if you're a banker, you finish work really late, you might have to entertain your clients, and then you sleep at 1 or 2. You still gotta wake up at 5 o'clock and then read
Mm,
all the research report because every single day is a brand new day if you're in banking. The news changes every single day. The research reports are new. You gotta understand the entire market, the whole world market, what Donald Trump said last night, and then
mm-hmm.
think what's gonna happen to Hong
Yeah.
Kong and China today, and then the market opens at 9:30. So I would say every single line is difficult. The hours are very, very long. And which is why if you're thinking of just clocking the hours 9 to 6, I don't think that anyone can really make it. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't think so because not because I made it. It's just because I know a lot of people that made it. And I like to talk to these people to understand, hey, how was it when you first started out? And one person, actually my husband, told me that. He says,
Mm-hmm.
hard work doesn't guarantee that you'll be successful. I can guarantee that you'll be unsuccessful if you're not hardworking. So I've never seen a lazy person become successful. Never in my life. And
Right,
I
right.
think that is very true because even with our long hours, it doesn't guarantee success. And it doesn't even guarantee that we are at the top most efficient in terms of what we're doing and what we're producing. Yeah, so yeah, that's the same in every single line. And but there's really a lot of adjustments when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to like the job scope of different industry. So back when you are an artist, you're always protected. You're always like shooting a movie in a movie set. If you're singing, you're in a studio or you're on stage. But when it came to the startup life, it's completely different. So I had to be on the ground giving out flyers, um, asking people, hey, get a free ice cream and then download our app. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
knocking on doors, like, hi, auntie, hey, are you looking to sell your home? And then it's like not everyone will say hi, most people were actually like,
Yeah, just
there's
close
a
the
big,
doors, like get out of
and
my
you close
way.
the door and think like you're gonna like rob them. Of course, there are a few nice people, but most of the time it's like closed doors. Just with every single thing, when you want to do something, most people will close their doors on you. Um, Even for singers, actresses, you go for auditions and you don't get every single role. And when I first started as a model, you go for auditions, right? Audition for
Mm-hmm.
a beauty project, or most of the time you don't get a job. And we have
Right.
to understand that rejection is just part of life. And now when we're selling our company, we're going out to meet venture caps. You get closed doors all the time, and you just gotta get used to it. And I think what will help is what I learned over the years is that once when someone closes the door on you, don't just walk away. Try to get into a conversation to understand, like, oh, I would like to understand, like, what is it that we're lacking. So if you're able to just do that one more step and get into that conversation, you're able to understand people from their point of view. And then you're able to see that, oh, that is the stats you're looking at. And okay, that's where you don't think I'm performing well. And then you pursue that. You zero in and then you know what to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're running a startup, like everything needs improvement. But what exactly it is, that's
Yeah.
the
You just find
secret.
out the direction you want to go.
Yeah, that's what every single founder has to decipher, right? That code, that what should you pursue and what is that you should monitor every single day, so that you're actually growing in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think this is a very good lesson, sort of advice that we can share for some of the audience who are students here, especially in an Asian country settings, right? When we go to school, teachers ask a question, we always expect the correct answers, and you got it wrong, you get humiliated. Your friends laugh at you. Teachers think you're stupid. All these things, but we're not trained in a culture of where we celebrate failures, right? In every failure, just like you said, right? You can find out stuff that why don't you like my business? Like what makes it better for you? And I think this is something a good takeaway for students listening right now is that there's always something you can learn from in a failure, and don't be afraid of it. I think this is very important for us to actually drive something to learn from. And going back to your hardworking points, I actually have a contradicting story that I can tell. So, uh,
Who didn't work hard and made it? Tell me.
no, I'm not saying people that didn't work hard and make it. But when I was young, I was also super super lazy. And then so my mom's way of driving me to actually work harder is that it's cool, it's okay if you want to be lazy, but you still have to get the job done. So lazy people are usually the smarter people to figure out ways to get stuff done in less hard work. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we can get by. I can go by, do my video games, do my computers, do my music, and
Yeah, that's true. One of the founders did mention that if you want to get a solution, like a good solution, pass the job to the laziest guy because you'll find a shortcut to get things done.
yeah, exactly. And I always believe in that. And it's the way to like figure out smart solutions for the hacky way of doing this.
Mm.
And earlier you mentioned about the starting days of Oh My Home. You mentioned there are a lot of groundwork that needs to be done on your hand. Your sister is being a co-founder, and then I think some of the audience here will also inspire to be a founder. And from my understanding, you don't have a tech background, and so what's the challenges, or what are some of the things that you come across and say, okay, I want to build an app, but I don't have a tech background. What are some of the challenges that you have to face?
Oh, well, that is a very good one that you pointed out. When we first started, we actually outsourced our tech team to an external vendor. And because we're thinking like, how can I start a tech team? I don't even know how to like interview for the right tech guy.
Exactly.
And like if they have any problems, I can't solve their problems, right? Because I don't even know what they're talking about. But eventually, we still took that leap of faith and started our own tech team because it's just kind of impossible if you're like a real tech company and you have so many revisions. There's always changes every single day. And then when we were working with our external partner, it's like, oh, this one is like 7 man days. And then like each man day is how much? And then, oh, okay, but we're busy right now. We can only start work on it like next week. Like for us, like next week is like a long time away for us when we want to get down, like, hey, do it now, do it now. Like there's this copywriting that's wrong on the app, change it now. So we couldn't wait for it. And it made us feel like, okay, the less changes you have, the more money you save. And I don't think that is the way to improve, right? Even if you're writing an article, don't tell me you don't need to like edit it for the next hour, right? If like every single edit costs you money, you wouldn't want to edit the article. You just like, oh. Yeah, so it didn't work. So we rebuilt our entire app with our in-house team. Yeah, and that was a very interesting journey because my tech guy will just say like, oh yeah, last time Rhonda and Rice will just sit right next to us and tell us like, hey, change this, change that, change this, change that. So we didn't have like the right SOP. We don't have a workflow. We just hired like two guys to begin with, like just one iOS and one Android, and let's go. And like first they will say, so when will the app be ready? Yeah, that's like
You just drive the engineers crazy.
yeah, they were like this crazy boss, like there's no designer, no design, there's no sprints, nothing. And then she just wants us to deliver. Yeah, but investing in tech is a learning journey. And if we hadn't started then, I would be still like that, if I had started now. So like, but right now it's so different. We have like our entire sprint, how it flows, it workflow. We have our entire design team, back end team. Yeah, when we first started with that Android and iOS developer, they're still with us today, and maybe also in this webinar, as I said, this company. We didn't even know that we need a backend guy.
Oh
They were like,
wow.
why is the Android built and the iOS is still not ready? Like, boss, I have to build the server. We have to build the back end in order to power the app.
Right, right. And they have to
But
explain it in a very simple, day-to-day human language to you.
yeah, yeah, it was. They're really patient with us, and I'm really thankful even until today. And yeah, I mean, like for the other students out there who don't have a tech background, um, you can read a lot more these days, do a lot more research, and then attend webinars like the ones that you're hosting to understand what it is. But before you even get into like, should I build an Android or an iOS app, it's always about the business plan first. What problem are you actually really solving in the market? Don't just like, oh, I like clothes. I'm gonna build another brand to sell clothes. Like
Hmm.
you have to like be very specific on like which target segment are you targeting. Do you have the right startup capital? If you don't, it is actually quite stressful. I'll share with you because I had my previous career, and then because of that, I had my savings. Before Oymyhome, we were actually running this other investment grade property company, real estate company, and from that we made money, and thus we're able to invest a significant amount of money to start Oymyhome and to find outsourced partners to build our app. Um, but it is not possible for every single person. If you're a student and if you're prepared to take like no pay for the next 2 years, then yeah, maybe you can jump on this opportunity. But you have to ensure that your family is supportive. You don't have to support your family for any overheads, rental, food, or anything, right?
Right,
So there are a lot of factors to consider before you even jump into should I build my platform in-house or outsource it.
right, right. And I think it's a very important too for students because I come across a lot of students and younger entrepreneurs where they want to start their own businesses, but the first thing they tell me is like, oh, I want to build an app, I want to build a website. But they oftentimes fail to understand, oh, well, here's the problem. This is my list of solutions. I think that's how it's supposed to work. And oftentimes, if we go through this process, they'll be able to find, oh, I probably don't need an app. I need a very simple landing page, very simple Facebook group or Instagram page. They can get started,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
saves them a lot of time, a lot of money, and they can just get results very very quickly.
yeah. So I think it is very important to be very clear about what is the objective and goal of your company. Um, and especially these days when we're in a recession, we're actually in a tech bubble, right? All that like crazy valuation of all of the trending tech companies. Let's say WeWork, co-working, co-living, or any other stuff that's trending. You're starting to see valuation come down to a more realistic number, and which means that VCs investors they're actually more savvy as well. They're looking at, okay, what are your revenues? What is your net profit? What is your unit economics? What are your numbers? So back then, you're able to build like a loss set where there's no revenue at all. You can have a
Mm-hmm.
Twitter where there's no revenue as long as you have the traffic. People will invest in you. But I think those days are over
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for most things. I guess like maybe someone can still invent something really cool. I can't say it's for everyone, but for most people, that those days are over. So investors are more savvy now. They want to see like what are the numbers they're looking at because investors are always in to make money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not
Exactly.
they're not here to help you build your dream. So if you have a dream to build like a very cool fashion line, it's always about how are you actually gonna market your clothes? What are you gonna do with that extra inventories that you can't sell? You gotta think of all these things, and also, are you able to cope up with the trend? So before we started Oymyhome, we did think about other business ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about property is that whatever content we're writing, platform that we're building, is still viable for many years. Although regulations might change, there are more stamp duty, there's more foreigners tax, but the product is always the same. But if you think about, if you're gonna make a fashion brand, every single week you're supposed to churn out new stuff. So, if you're starting that, you got to think about, oh, am I able to do that? Do I have the investment to at least, you have to at least produce 1,000 of the same t-shirt, right? It can't be like printing 10 t-shirts and trying to sell 10. So yeah, there's a lot of factors to consider when you're building that new idea. And it always helps to ask around.
Yes.
I think it's quite scary to feel like, oh, what if people don't think it's a great idea? But you'd be surprised at the ideas that people can give you. That, hey, what about this? Have you thought about that? Then you actually have more bases covered before you jump into it wholeheartedly and 100%.
And who, for you personally, who are some of the people that you reached out to when you first started Ohmyhome? And then what are some of the feedback they gave you? Do you still remember?
Well, the idea came about, and the first person I asked was my husband. So my husband's a businessman, and then initially when I first started, it didn't come from a perspective of making money, which is why I tell you that you have to actually think about that. We started as a social enterprise. We started Oymyhome to help people, so that people can do it for free. So yeah, back then I was thinking, yeah, WhatsApp doesn't make money, Twitter doesn't make money, but they're worth a lot. So why can't we build something that's free for people to use? That was the intention. Yeah, so of course I asked around, other friends that I know, and you have to be really asking people who will actually use your products. Families, relatives, friends who are living in the different housing estates. How do you sell your property? Do you have any trouble? You can't be solving a problem that doesn't exist. Sometimes you think that there's a problem, but actually there's no problem. So if you don't ask around, you wouldn't know that, is this a real problem? Is that a big enough problem for you to solve? If you're just solving a problem for 1,000 people, then I guess it's very difficult to make that into a business.
Exactly. And I think knowing your market, especially, it's also a fun time to test your friendship, right? When you ever have new idea, telling your friends, how honest, they're gonna get to you. Are they gonna straight up in your face and tell, hey, this is a stupid idea, change it, or are they gonna, give you just oh yeah, it's cool, then we can try it, stuff like that. I think these are really a testament of how you can improve upon the relationship with people and also improve your business idea. And the last part of this conversation, I also want to bring us the attention to being a mom entrepreneur. Earlier you mentioned you have your daughter, 3 years old right now. Have you seen any traits picked up from you? She might picked up on some, maybe an artist trait or the entrepreneur trait?
I don't know. I always like to think that my daughter is smarter than I am. And yeah, I think it's so cool, having a kid. My elder sister is first in the family to have 2 kids. And a lot of my children before I did, because I'm already past my 30s, have my house.
How to do now?
Oh, this.
Leave me.
Oh, got it.
Okay. So yeah, when they are so so overwhelmed or so excited about their kid, I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. Go on play dates and hang out with other children and their mommies. It's I can't even imagine. It sounds so boring to me. But now that I am a mom, it's completely different. It's like a new world. Oh my God, you never had so much love for anyone in this world. And then yeah, and that's my daughter. This mompreneur journey has been very interesting because the good thing is my mom has always been a mompreneur all her life. So she and my dad has always been working throughout my entire life. Yeah, even now she's still working. She runs her own business. And actually, I think that gave me a lot of assurances because every single mom will feel guilty about going to work and leaving your baby behind. So a huge part of us don't want to leave our baby because we love them so much. The other part is like, oh, I'm a bad mom. I'm like spending 9 hours in the office and 1 hour with my child. But with my mom as a role model, I think that really helped me and Rhonda because my mom was always there whenever we needed her. She's always there during the most important times. She's there when I needed someone to talk to. And even if I remember there was once I was like really upset sitting in the living room. I was only like 12 years old. I was like crying. Then my parents were like on their way out to work and then they couldn't stay. And then my mom said like, hey, I don't like to see you cry like that, all right? Write me a letter. I want to know what's wrong with you. So she's all about like getting to the problem and then solving that problem. So I wrote a letter about how stressful work is. Blah, blah. And they actually really addressed the problem and they solved it with me. They brought me out for a treat. Said, hey, I'm going to be out shopping. But the thing is, I think it is very important that what are we trying to build with our kids? For me, what's important for my child is that she is safe, she's healthy, she's learning every single day, and she has good manners. I think that is very important. I don't see a point in raising like a spoiled brat, right? Like she can be smart or pretty, but then if she's super arrogant, then it doesn't make sense to me as well. So yeah, and I think definitely having my own good parents really have a huge influence on me and gives me that confidence that yes, I have to do something meaningful with my time. Even though I'm 30 something, I'm still like halfway through my life, right? Maybe less than halfway through my life, I hope. And there's so much more that I have to grow on a personal level. And I've seen some of my aunties who, settled being a housewife, and it's not always that rewarding because there might come a point in time when your children's 12 years old and they don't need you anymore. And they kind of like feel that hollowness in them
Right.
where, yeah, I've seen that too many times. And I thought that, I have to do my best as a mom, but I have to grow on a personal level as well.
Right, right. So I guess like for you, it's this entrepreneurship spirit runs in the family. Your father, your mom, they runs their own businesses.
I
Now
think
it's your turn and your sisters.
Yeah, even my elder sister, she actually helped her husband set up like the biggest dental clinic in Hong Kong in Central.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it's what 6,000 square feet, I think. Yeah,
that's
very big.
impressive. Very, very impressive. Yeah.
So it runs
So
the company.
yeah, this entrepreneur spirit is amazing. So before we open up for questions, so Grace, can you give like two pieces of advice? One for student entrepreneurs and one for current working adults or wants to be entrepreneurs. Like, what kind of advice would you give them if you want to start something?
I think for students, although there are like a lot of like miracle stories of like Mark Zuckerberg starting Facebook in his garage, but I feel like if you're thinking about starting something, the best way to learn is to join a similar company. Let's say it's property, you can join Oymyhome, or if it's like shopping site, you can join Lazada, Shopee, to understand how it works. Because when you really like something, it doesn't mean that you have all the skill sets that's necessary. And if you were to join another company, you would be able to see how it's run and what's the missing parts that you're lacking, because no one knows every single thing. Then you're able to, let's say, find a better partner to complement you when you're ready to start your business, or who's the first person you're supposed to hire. So let's say you're really good in operations, your partner is really good in numbers, then maybe the first person you need to hire is marketing. It is really there's this other book also I read that says that a lot of people, when they are really good at baking, they'll start a bakery, right? You'll call it like Race's Bakery or Race Cake Shop. They put their name on it. But the thing is, knowing how to bake and running a bakery is completely different. Even I think a lot of bakers who runs their own bakery don't end up baking. They spend all their time marketing, being at the shop to make sure the shop is open. because you might hire someone to be there, but the person is on a day off or on a sick leave. You end up being the person sitting there at the counter and marketing, operations, hiring, admin stuff. Oh, it's really overwhelming. Yeah, so learn from the other businesses first, because like if you like start your own thing and then you join someone else, people might think that you're here to learn or you fail something.
Bye.
Start by, you start by and then you try to learn from it. So it's better that you learn and then go start something. I think, and then for other working adults, I guess these people will have a better idea of what they want to do because they're already working. Working on your business plan is very important. Although this is something you learn in school, but actually it's really important because you have to repeatedly create business plans for fundraising. And throughout the entire process, you will be able to kind of like see your ideas on paper and see what is working, what is not, like the SWOT analysis, things that's so basic. And then what are your goals? Can your business really make money? That is really, really important because you can't rely on external funding. You have to be self-sustainable.
Yeah.
Although like this startup world seems so fancy now, but at the end of the day, it has to be a real business. It can't be just like a very funny or very cool dream. It has to be a real business, solving real problems, bringing real money into the business. Yeah.
Right. Great advice. Great advice. I think, for students especially, learn as much as you can before you actually jump like nose deep into this world of startups. Because I would say like I experienced this personally. There's just no going back. Like once you're in, you're either in like all in or then you're just basically out of it. So right now we still have a little bit of time. So if the audience right here have some questions, feel free to type it out on the public chat, and then we'll pick some to answer a few depending on how much time we have left. But thank you a lot for Ray's time today to share her stories with us and entrepreneur journey. From being an artist to being a founder, moving from Hong Kong to Singapore, all the in between. It's a great inspiring stories for all of us right here at CEO class and the audience. So let's see if we have any questions coming in from the chat.
How do you handle stress during crisis? You have started a business.
So let me repeat the questions for the podcast listener later on. So there's a question asking, how would you have started or grown your business if you didn't have the option of fundraising? Kind of a technical question.
I think I would have started it the same way because when we first started, we used our own money. And if we didn't have the option of fundraising, it would actually still be the same, but just that the growth would be slower because you don't have that enough money to hire enough people, and you wouldn't have enough money for marketing. Actually, like when you look at our company, the biggest cost is always manpower and marketing, and yeah, so it will be the same way I would run my company now, which is like super, super hands-on. Rhonda and I, we oversee every single team very closely. The reason why we see them, like oversee them very closely, is just to make sure that we're tracking things that's going to be delivered at the right time and coordinating the different teams. So when there's like a tech team building a product, we have to constantly check with them to make sure that is the product going to be launched on time. If it's not going to be launched on time on the business front, when we're looking for partnerships, we have to hold that back. It has to be in line. You can't have like the customers and the product is not built, or the product is built and then it's like sitting there and it has nothing to do at all. So there's a lot of coordination between the different teams, and that's where like the founders have to like kind of like sit in different chairs to oversee them.
Got it. Let's take two more questions and then we can wrap up the call. So the next one we have is, sure. How do you handle stress during this crisis? I'm sure it's a stressful time for a lot of us. So how would you handle stress right now?
I think it boils down to looking back at our business. Is this a business that is a real business solving real problems? Or will this business be out of trend after this virus. So we looked at that and we know that, hey, of course, people can be transacting properties at this moment because you can't even go out, so you can't view the property. Although we're still doing video tours and we're still transacting, but definitely the numbers have come down. And we'll have to pivot. What can we do instead of holding real life seminars? We're gonna pivot to doing more video seminars. We gotta rearrange, reprioritize our solutions, our tools, so that we can cater to the new way of living now. I guess the way I handle crisis is always about looking back at the business, reprioritizing it, and we just continue on. I don't like to cry over spilt kind of. Yeah, we just don't have time for that. It's always moving forward, moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that we have to do during a crisis is how can we be more effective with how we use our money and our time. Yeah, so let's say I was saying marketing is the biggest cost. So what we need to do is how can it be more effective? When we, for example, shoot a video, how can we readapt this video into different ways, cut it out into different ways to use on different channels instead of having to spend more money doing many, many videos. When we do, so it's more how can you better use every single asset that you have. Yeah.
To better utilize all the resources and all the skill set that you have existingly to help the company strive through this. So last one from Lena. Do you see any advantage of being a mom to be an entrepreneur? So is there an advantage for being a mom entrepreneur?
I guess the only advantage I see is that you're more understanding towards your team members. Because you're a mom yourself, you know that you want to spend time with your children. You know about different difficulties that people have at home. We have more empathy towards people in our team. And I think that is one big reason why our team is so strong. We have a strong bond, between us and our team and within our team itself. We have a very collaborative culture where there's no tears. Even when, let's say, I'm a founder and I'm in the meeting, my voice is just the same as my other guy's voice. It's just all about who has the better idea to solve a problem and how are we going to go about solving it, instead of a top-down approach. I guess that's it. Otherwise, I guess being a man, you'll have more less responsibility at home. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure, but actually, I think having such reasons cannot be an excuse for not doing well as well, because there are very successful female entrepreneurs all around the world, and a lot of very successful female leaders around the world. So as a woman, we shouldn't take this as a disadvantage or a reason to not do as well. We should see ourselves, an equal. Not oh, a man can do it, I can do it too. It's just we have to get things done, and we just gotta do it. No matter you're a man or a woman or whatever.
Right. Yeah. We're all human and here just to get things done with our skills, basically. Great. So Thank you very much for your time, Ray. It was a great chat for today, our second episode of CEO Class. We really appreciate your time. So for the audience here, if you want to recap this podcast that we have, we are live on YouTube, CEO Class, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, so you can revisit this episode later. But again, thank you very much, Ray. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
thank you so much. And thank you everyone for